Okay, there's that. Let's go to Instagram. Ooh, Monday is St. Patrick's Day, right? Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It is, yeah.
Yep. Would have been my grandma's birthday.
Hmm.
Better close the Discord if they're gonna be beeping like crazy.
I had to turn notifications off for the Discord on my phone just because there's so many that just come in. I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. So now I put Discord on at least like the homepage of my phone. So I'm like, okay, I'll regularly check it if it's on there, but I was like, this is way too many notifications.
I know. I just get that little, but like when I'm listening to music in my Jeep, like I'll be like, I'll be listening to like Jelly Roll or something, like he's singing away. He's singing.
Now I've always wondered what Mike Rallman listens to. It's Jelly Roll.
That's my jam lately. Well, see, my daughter is a country music fan, so I just kind of listen to whatever she listens to. She kind of got Jelly Roll.
Yeah, gotcha. I'm very nerdy. I listen to movie scores, but also just a ton of Disney music. So when you had Magical Mouse Radio for a while, that was always on. Now I use SR Sounds or Sorcerer Radio. That's a good source. Yeah, I love that.
SR, man, I miss them. I know they're still around. I used to listen to them all the time.
Yeah. It's great. They just added a new channel called Looped. So now it's like they just do full like loops of like background music for 45 minutes to an hour. It's great. I love it.
So Magical Mouse Radio, we used to have background loop Tuesday.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, those were the days.
I know.
Post. Yeah, I'm trying to think. We have background loop Tuesday. We had World Showcase Wednesday. I remember Future World Friday. Can't remember what Thursday was. Monday was, I can't remember. Monday, God, it was a long time ago. It was fun though. But then they got all the royalty stuff, and Live 365 made it like they got sold and they made it too expensive.
Gotcha. Yeah.
5 times what it costs. I was like, I can't afford that.
Yeah. You have to see, is it worth doing anymore?
Yeah, it's like it came like $300 a month. I was like, I can't. It's like can't do that.
Yeah, this was a fun project, but I'm not making that revenue back at all anyway.
Oh yeah, it wasn't making any. Like it was like $50 a month. I was like, I can, I'll pay that. It's like a hobby, but I couldn't do like $300 a month.
Yeah, that's
not doing.
That's a bill. That's a real bill at that point.
Like a car payment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I could be paying for another used car.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. I think we're good. Let's see. Instagram going. Yep.
So where are we live today? We're live everywhere.
Right. Instagram, Facebook, my Facebook page. We're on the podcast Facebook page. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitch, and we're on X.
Holy moly!
We're on all the places. Awesome. All right, this is 26:58 for Monday, and we will get cracking. Here we go. Welcome to episode 2658 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you and happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody tuned in here on the show, and especially all of our Irish friends and all of our leprechauns. I hear we're big in the leprechaun community, but Aaron Gabra and all that good stuff. And would have been my grandma's birthday today, so happy heavenly birthday to my grandma. And one of the lucky, she's just an awesome lady, and I miss her. And we always started the podcast right around her birthday, so I always think about her as we celebrate our podcast birthday here. 17 years of the Be Our Guest podcast. So get out there and have fun today. Search for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Maybe have some, maybe have a green beer if that's your thing. See a parade. I don't know. We kind of do it like that around here in St. Louis, but whatever you do, I hope you have a great St. Patrick's Day. And we appreciate you dropping in for a fun trip report with a friend of the show that you've heard before. And we're glad to have him back. We're headed out to New Jersey, the Garden State, I believe. And Matt's joining us. Zeebs. I just made that connection over in the clubhouse. Matt, what's up? Happy Monday.
Hey, happy Monday, happy St. Patrick's Day, happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. Happy to be back. Thanks for having me, Mike. I'm excited to talk about my trip. I literally just got back. If this is St. Patrick's Day, like 10 days ago or like a week ago, whatever it was. So, came back on the 8th. So, this is a fresh trip report we got.
I love the way you plan that because sometimes these things are like 9 months old. This was fresh, hot off the presses. And so,
Yeah.
real quick though, do you guys at New Jersey? Ferris Bueller did the parade back in the day. I'm showing my age, right? Down Chicago, down the buildings, and did jumped on a float and all that. Any big parades out in Jersey? How do you guys celebrate out there? Anything happening?
For St. Patrick's Day, we don't have any parades around here. My wife's side of the family is Irish. My kids have Irish names. So usually we get the corned beef and, cabbage every
Mhm.
year. We usually just order that in. I don't know. I don't know what we have planned for this year. I asked my wife, I'm like, do we want to go out? And she's like, well, it's a Monday. I'm like, so do we want to go out? So yeah, we'll see what we got going on this year. But
I know what I'll be doing. I'll be podcasting. It's Monday. So that's
yeah.
it. I can't break the streak. So we'll be having a show on Monday night. 2 shows actually, as we do every Monday night. But who knows? Probably Taco Bell for me, which is the perfect St. Patrick's meal. Or a couple burritos, couple tacos,
It.
and some chips and cheese. But
Yeah.
that's how we roll around these parts when it happens on a Monday. But okay, so we've got the heavy on the show a couple times before, so I thought I'd do something a little different than the getting to know you questions. I didn't tell you this in the pre-show because I kind of want to hit you because you're a Disney expert.
Love it.
And we'll do one of the things that we do with Scott, Ricky, and Pam here from time to time. And I'm going to play a little stock up, stock down with you. See how you feel about things going on in the Disney community with you.
Okay.
Quick.
All right.
I'm going to ask you, what do you think currently Disney is doing really well right now? Like as far as the theme parks, what do you see? Maybe an announced project, maybe something's going on right now. What is Disney doing really well? What suits you?
Well, literally the first thing that came to my head because I was just in the parks is the merchandise has been at its best since before COVID.
and I like to play the sound effect too.
Love it. Yeah. No, I think to me, like, I'm a big when I go to Disney, I try to just find like special merchandise. And I'm actually wearing a spirit jersey that I've never seen before. It's a black on black spirit jersey.
Yeah.
I love it so much. I saw it on my last day over at Disney Springs and World of Disney and had to have it. But I remember like our first trip back after COVID was 2022, September. Actually, I went in June 2022, then September. But because of COVID, the merch was just like not there. There wasn't anything that I particularly liked. And then we went again last year in 2024, and I kind of felt the same way. I got a few things, but this trip, I thought there was just banger after banger. There were so many things I wanted, and I actually had to stop myself. I'm like, do I really, really want this? Like, I do, but there's probably other things that I want to get. And I'm glad I waited because there were things that I picked up. And I usually have a rule. It's like, if you want something, buy it because you don't know if you're going to see it again. And I literally had to stop myself because I already bought a bunch of stuff and I was trying to pace myself. But so merchandise, I think that's like something that they're just doing really great with right now. And I was like super stoked to be there and just happy to see what they had in stock.
I like that. And it's super interesting because like 10 years ago, I had a different philosophy on that. I was always like, wait till the end of the trip, just get everything at World of Disney, at Disney Springs, or even back in the day, downtown Disney. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have anything you want, just kind of wait, and then just get it at the end of the trip. That has totally changed post-COVID. Like, if you see something, get it because it might not even be in that store tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Things disappear. So I think that's important. Like if you're going on a vacation and you're new to this whole Disney thing, if you see something that catches your eye, don't think that it's going to be there 2, 3, 4 days later, or even in a different store. Like, oh, I'll just get it. Another park, they'll have it.
Exactly. Yep.
If you're really your heart's set on
it.
Good point. Okay, so what's something that you were trying to be negative, but something if Disney asked you, like, what can we work on right now? Where would the stock be going down in the wrong direction?
Oh man, I've been trying. I'm sitting here trying to think about it, and I every like D23, I just always think they're gonna announce a new park because I think they're just I think they're due for one. You know, I know they want to build experiences, and change up their lands and add stuff to the lands, but Disney is just busy as ever. The prices are going up. People are still paying for them. I know I am. I'm still going because I still see a value of going to Disney World. But it's just there needs to be another park, in my opinion, to start spacing out the crowds a bit more. Like even though when I was there this past week, the lines didn't feel busy, but it definitely felt busy in the parks. And I think just adding a brand new land will help. And I think everyone's been wanting that. That's kind of like, I think that's a take that everyone has, but I just think I wish they weren't just expanding their theme parks, but I wish they were adding one more. I think that's the only like thing I could really think of. So
That's good. That's very, very conservative there. It's
yeah,
capacity, right? I mean, it is. I mean,
yeah,
spread people out. And that's, that's one thing I think as Disney fans we've been asking for is, way, way more capacity. And this is where I'm having a really hard time with this Rivers of America thing, because I do
yeah.
think that we need places that are a respite in a theme park. And I think Rivers of America, the slow moving,
Hmm.
Liberty Bell, Tom Sawyer Island free play area. They're not getting. I understand as like an investor, a shareholder, somebody who's crunching the numbers. You're getting no ROI on that land.
Yeah.
It's a huge chunk of land with no ROI. I get it, and I mean it's hard to justify it, but
Hmm.
it's also not everything's quantifiable. And you're going to get a big ROI on it, cars there and all that. People are going to be wowed. It's going to be amazing, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But and you're gonna, capacity is what we've been saying. Give us more, give us more to do, and that's what it's gonna do. But I just wish, at Walt Disney World we have more. We could gain, find some property somewhere, and like Villains Land's going into some empty space. Like that's good. That's what I
Yeah.
like. Unused land.
Hmm.
But that's neither here nor there. So it's good stuff. I mean, I want to do a whole show on this. I want
Yeah.
to hear about your trip. So you were just there, staying at the Grand Floridian, but let's talk about how this trip came together, because extended family, some folks who hadn't been there in quite a while. I love hearing how these trips come together. So who came up with the idea, and how'd this all get hatched?
Yeah. So, I talked about this last year, but we love going the first week of March. So we went 2024. We took the two kids, and my daughter had just turned 3. My oldest daughter just turned 3, and absolutely just like loved the characters. And we had an amazing experience. We were there 7 nights. We only did 2 park days, and we had the best trip of our lives. And we've been trying to get my in-laws to go, my wife's father and her stepmom, and we were like, "Hey, you gotta come with us." And I've talked to you about this before, but I still make home movies. I literally have a separate camcorder that I bring and make home movies. And I came home, I made it, I showed it to them, and it was really my wife's stepmom that like as they were watching it, you just see how happy she was seeing the kids interact with the characters.
Yeah.
And then it was like, again, this was like March of last year. It was like 2 days later after that, they called us and were like, okay, let's do Disney next year. So then I emailed you right after, and I was like, all right, let's set up a trip report. So that's
Yep.
why I'm here today. So that's how the trip came about. Yeah.
So you're the expert, right? I mean, you how did you land on Grand Floridian that you'd like this time of the year? But did they have any idea of what this trip, how it was going to unfold, or were you going to surprise them, kind of shock and awe on how much fun they were going to have? How much input did they have? How many expectations did they get?
Yeah, so I actually made a PowerPoint presentation for
I love our fans. They're I just love. We got to put that on. We should sell those shirts in the
I
Emporium.
made a PowerPoint presentation.
I made a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, no, that's literally what I did. If anyone wants to use my template, I'll share it with them. But I made a PowerPoint of 3 hotels. I did Boardwalk, Wilderness Lodge, like Boulder Ridge or Copper Creek, and then I did Grand Floridian. And they were kind of just sold on Grand Floridian. So that's how we went with that one. So they, again, my father-in-law is DVC. We we rented a 2-bedroom villa, but they wanted to have their own space. So they use cash to rent to get a room at Grand Floridian as well. So
all right. So how's travel down? You guys have any issues with travel? Anything you guys stories from the traveling days or anything like that? Anything you learned? Any tips?
no, no, no major stories from the traveling days. My going back to Orlando, my daughter got a little car sick on the way to the Orlando airport, but luckily everything was fine after that. But one of the big things we learned with traveling with our kids last year is we brought so much stuff on the airplane with us, like for them to do snacks. And I learned, I told my wife, I'm like, we don't need to do that again this year. So this year we were really minimal of what we did. We had, they don't use tablets at home, but we keep them for like emergencies and mostly just airplanes. So we brought tablets, some standard snacks, some sanitizing wipes and, water, and they were good to go. We were very minimal. So we had less on the plane this time than we did with last year. So that was like the biggest thing that we learned. But otherwise, travel was great. We flew down from Newark Airport, no delays or anything. We rented a minivan, or not like Disney's minivan, but an actual minivan. So, I brought the car seats down as well, and it all worked out. It was great.
Sounds good. All right, so let's talk about the Grand Floridian. So you guys were there, and what were your thoughts? I mean, tell us about the room and just about how everybody enjoyed the. I'm sure you enjoyed the stay. I mean, holy cow, it's grand.
Yeah, I mean the Grand Floridian. It's my second favorite resort after Wilderness Lodge, but there's just so much going on. It's always busy there, which is, can be a good and bad thing, but it was great. We made use of the resort, as much as we could. We did Gasparilla's Island Grill, a lot. We did, I did the sommelier wine dinner at Citrico's, which I'll talk about as well. But, we also did 1900 Park Fair. Did the Enchanted Rose and all that. So, we had plenty of pool time. We had a few days we did the pool. The kids just love that. We also, had great service over there. I think literally the only negative of it was, so we were staying in the villas building, which is separate from the main lobby. And when we arrived, there was just no one to help us with our bags. There was no trolley. So I can't remember what happened when we stayed there in 2022, but like we have four big suitcases. We got the kids in the stroller. There's a lot going on. And like, I was hoping there'd be a trolley there at least, but there was nothing. And also like the two cast members that were standing outside didn't really greet us with a welcome home. Like anytime I come in to any resort, there's always like, oh, welcome home. And so that was like, so arriving, that was just kind of like the one negative. Otherwise, like we had phenomenal service, every which way we went, housekeeping, dining, our dining servers. I set up my in-laws. So the first day on Sunday, so we flew in on a Saturday. We went from Saturday to Saturday. That Sunday was a chill day, and I actually set up my in-laws at Narcoossee's for a dinner at 7, fireworks at 8, and they said they absolutely, loved the meal. So, we also did breakfast at Grand Floridian Cafe. So we made great use of the resort, and I really have no complaints. We had a great view too. We were overlooking the lake, so we saw the boats going to Polynesian. You see the ferries. You see the Contemporary. So. You can see the electrical water pageant every night if you want. So yeah, it was great overall. And, I'll definitely be back there again in the future.
So I know you work in IT. I'm just telling you, you need to block this email, Scott@BRGuestPodcast.com, because he's going to start spamming you to get adopted by your family so that he can get go on your next trip, because, he loves all these restaurants and everything. He's going to want to go to Narcoossee's, Citrico's. He's going to be like, Zeebs, I'm going with you next time, man. So you better just blacklist that email address. Just so
no, he can come. It's fine.
I just heard that. I'm like, Scott's like, oh, he's drooling right now. He's like, I know my buddy. Okay, so that's awesome. And yeah, you're right. I mean, because I hear you, right? I mean, back in the day, I mean, I've only stayed at the Grand Floridian one time, but I've passed through many times, and a lot of times you even have that greeter out front at the Grand Floridian. The guy that's got on the knickers and all that. I mean, there's just that initial just welcome home, or how you doing? That I think that kind of puts your vacation off on the right foot. That
exactly,
it should happen. This is a minor thing, but I mean, it's kind of a Disney thing, so I get what you're saying. So tell us about those meals. Let's kind of dive into. Let's start with that experience at Citrico's, because I've never had that, and I probably never will. I wouldn't know what to do. So what's that like? Tell our listeners.
Yeah, it was, so it was funny. I literally got back from my trip last year, and like an episode, there was a listener or there was a trip report, with you. Oh, and a woman was talking about this wine dinner, and I literally never heard of it before. I'm just big Disney guy. I know we all are, but I've never heard about the sommelier room, and it's a wine dinner over at Citrico's. Like you can't even like find it on Disney's website. You have to contact wdw.citricos.com. I think that's it. It's something like that. I'll put it in the Discord later if anyone's wants to check it out. But you have to contact that email and to get any information on it. And that was also like a factor to kind of convince my father-in-law to come out, because he's like a huge wine connoisseur. Like he loves he loves his wine, and I thought that would be like a really fun treat for him to come and do. But the whole experience is like, it's phenomenal. So Citrico's itself is just an amazing restaurant, and to me is still, I would say, the best restaurant when it comes to terms with food at Walt Disney World. The meals, and I think Scott even agrees, the sides are really where it's at Citrico's. But this wine dinner is a bit different because it's a 8-course wine pairing or 0 proof cocktail pairing for the your non-alcoholic drinkers. And it kind of feels like it's a Victoria and Albert light.
That's why I was going to ask that, because I've never done Victoria and Albert's, obviously.
Yeah.
I haven't done this either, but it kind of, when you said that, I'm thinking, that kind of sounds just maybe like a half a step below, like a Vienna kind of experience.
Yeah. You don't have to, like, the dress code is kind of like how like California Grill would be, in Arcusi's, Citrico's. Like I wore a pair of slacks with like a short, long sleeve button down, and that's it. I don't have to wear a jacket. No, you don't have to get it dressed up real fancy, but you're getting really well crafted 8 courses of like, it's artistry. A lot of this stuff, like you meet the chef, and we had a lot of fun because my cousin was an executive chef over at Grand Floridian, or over at Victoria and Albert's. So all the people that were there that were talking to us about the food, like he's friends with them, and they were really excited that I was his cousin, and we were taking pictures and stuff like that. So it was a really fun experience. And they come in, talk about the food, what exactly what it is. And the guy, the server that was helping us, he's also the sommelier, but he said he's been with the Grand Floridian since 5 months before it opened. He'd been he's been there for a really long time. But this meal is great. I think if you're I wouldn't recommend it probably for first timers, but if you're looking for something new, you want to celebrate something fun, I think it's a great idea to do, and it's one of the few reservations that you can book like a year in advance, because what happened was you contact them, they'll send you information, they'll ask you for a date, and they'll actually hold your reservation for a year. And then once that 60-day mark hits, you'll see your Disney Experience app updated with the hold, now like an actual reservation in your app. So overall, phenomenal experience, and I can't recommend highly enough, especially if you're a foodie, if you're a wine connoisseur. But if you like 0 proof cocktails, they got plenty of those as well. Because my wife, she did the 0 proof cocktails, so we kind of like, I would try her, she would sip some of my wine, and it was great.
See, that's why I love the show because my knowledge of Disney is I have pretty decent knowledge of a lot of things at Disney, but that's something I've never done and I don't have any knowledge of it. But you just described it so well that our audience now there's so many people out there probably like I've never heard of that, and that would totally be something I would enjoy on my next trip because maybe somebody's celebrating retirement or they're celebrating a big promotion. And what a way, to or like a big anniversary. What a way to go over Citricos and have this, and it's got that. I'm glad you described, way to get the reservation because very cool.
Yeah. So during that, so there was 5 of us. And during that time, my mom, in my room, it was me, my wife, my 2 kids who are about to turn 4 and 2, and my mom. So the 5 of us were in the room, and my wife's aunt and uncle were also down there at the same time because they have a condo in Celebration. So at the wine dinner, it was me, my wife, my father-in-law, my stepmom, but also my wife's uncle came with us. And during that time, my wife's aunt was like, "Oh, hey, can me and your mom bring the kids to Chef Mickey's?" And I was like, "Yeah, go for it. That'd be awesome." So, since we're on the monorail, it was just easy for them, so my mom was going to spend the night with the kids anyway. So they hopped on the monorail and, they just took the kids to Chef Mickey's and they said they had an absolute blast. And they, my daughter had a fun experience where she was dancing with Minnie and stuff like that. And, so I'm glad they got to do that while we, because the dinner starts at 6 and it was like a 3.5 to 4 hour experience. So
That's
it's
awesome.
a long time. Yeah. It takes a long time. So
yeah, one for the team. She's out there with the rally towel, over Chef.
Yeah.
I love it, man. That's family time.
Yeah, man.
Kind of parallel though. Let's because I want get into some other things, but 1900 Park Fair, because that's a newer experience with the new characters. It was one of the last things to come back post COVID.
Yeah.
What the kids think about that, and you? What was that like?
Yeah, so I always try to book like one of the best meals for the last meal of the trip, and that's what we did on Friday before we left for dinner. And it was great. I mean, my daughters were so excited, especially my 4-year-old. My daughter Cora, she's 4, almost 4, and she's obsessed with Aladdin and Jasmine. So I wanted to make sure that was like a big priority of meeting them this trip. So we met. Aladdin's there, Mirabelle's there, Cinderella, and Tiana, who my daughters all love. So those characters were really fun to meet. Talked with them, saw my daughter's autograph book, but the food was phenomenal too. Like the food was just so good. I went back for seconds for the prime rib, put some of the steak sauce and the horseradish sauce on it. It was phenomenal. So yeah, excellent food for the buffet. I feel like it's always tough though with character meals to like get your money's worth for buffets as a parent. But otherwise, it was great experience. And they did a beautiful job renovating it in there. They actually had these like beautiful paintings around like the main dining area of like all the Disney princesses and I think a couple other characters, but I'm like, I want some of those paintings for my room. I like to collect artwork, if you could see behind me.
Really cool.
Yeah, I have like, a lot of alternative movie posters from, different artists that I love. And I was like, I need some Disney ones in my house. So yeah, it was great experience. I loved it.
Yeah, that's another thing, Scott. He has Disney art. He's going to those kiosks, right? Where you can get, well, on a cruise line, you can get like the kiosks and get the art on demand. And stuff. He's all about that. I think you can get it at World too. He's all about that stuff. So yeah, I'm telling you, block Scott at brguestpodcast.com. You'll okay. Let's hop into the parks for a little bit now. You guys, interesting because you guys don't go into the parks every day, right? I mean, you didn't on that last trip. Did you guys get kind of sparingly? Like, what's your philosophy on going into the parks, like with lightning lanes, and what's your park experience like on these trips?
Yeah. So, with the kids, we try to not do too many of the park days just because for us, it's stressful. I don't want to say not as enjoyable. Like it's very enjoyable. Like we have fun, but we also just want to take it easy and not like go crazy. So, out of the 7 nights we were there, or 8 days, we only did 3 park days. We didn't do Animal Kingdom. And I took for the first time, I was very strategic about my approach to the days because, I have the young kids, but I also have, the older folks as well. I'm very thankful, my mom and my in-laws, they're like very active people and they can walk, but they also they get tired as well. And I'm about to turn 37. I get tired too. I have a bad lower back, so I don't want to be walking around a lot. But I was very strategic of like how I plan my days. For example, Epcot, for all parks, my daughter just turned, she just now is 41 inches, so she's able to go on a lot more rides. But I was trying to rope drop rides that wouldn't have any weight. So for Epcot, we rope dropped Soarin'. Magic Kingdom, we took some photos and we rope dropped Jungle Cruise. Hollywood Studios, we rope dropped Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. We got right on it because those are not the rides that people are going to. I couldn't get a lightning lane for those attractions, except for Soarin'. I got one later on that night, but we all rope dropped those just because they were easy to go on. And then in the mornings, I really just tried to stay in like one area instead of like bouncing around to the parks. So like Epcot, the morning was the land, the sea. We saw Mickey and Friends. We did Moana. We did that Encanto dance party. And then we started making our way to World Showcase. We lined up for Anna and Elsa because my daughters love them. That was probably the longest wait we had all trip because we were pretty lucky with lightning lanes. And then, the lunch and then, kind of the afternoon is like, okay, let's see what happens next. And same thing with Magic Kingdom. All morning, all it was we stayed in Adventureland. We did a lot. We had fast passes for Tiana, Pirates, and I'm blanking on some other things, but, we did Adventureland and Frontierland all morning. And then we did the parade at 12. We watched it right on the river there. And then we had a 12:30 Skipper Canteen reservation. So like we weren't bouncing around. We were staying in one area. And then, same thing with Hollywood Studios. We did Mickey and Minnie Runaway Railway. Then we met Olaf because he opened up at 9. And then we went over to the Disney Junior Dance play thing. And then we also did the Frozen Ever After show. Then after that, my wife waited in a long line for Joffrey's near Pixar Plaza. We saw Joy, we saw Sully, we saw Frozone, we saw Mrs. Incredible. So, Elastigirl. So we all kind of just stayed in this one area. And then, then we waited another long line for Buzz. And then, we had lunch at Woody's Roundup. And then, the afternoon, Hollywood Studios, we just stayed in Toy Story Land. So again, what I'm getting at is I wasn't trying to bounce around all the time. And I was just very strategic with lightning lanes because we did the lightning lane multi-pass, the single lane. And I tried to, when I booked those 7 days out, I really, again, try to confine it into those areas. So, and it worked out really well. There was not as much walking as some people might do when they bounce around. So
it is, I remember doing that back in the day. It is super enjoyable when you can do like, pretty much land by land, right? We're going to do mostly Adventureland, then we're going to migrate over to Frontierland and do most of that land, and maybe a little Liberty Square, and then make our way to Fantasyland. I mean, if you can make that happen, it is so enjoyable to do the Magic Kingdom that way. Break it left side, right side, or something like that. But I think we've just gotten in this, over the last, well, I guess because of Fast Pass, right? And especially now we're on our phones, we're looking at Lightning Lane and wait times. We'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm on, say you're at Pirates, and then you see, oh, but Space Mountain's only 25 minutes. You're on the other side of the park, and then you get off Space Mountain, you see, oh my gosh, Big Thunder now is, only 25 again. So then you're over there, it's like, if you look at your path throughout the day, you're just like zig, 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 zig. And you're right. You have to be careful of that with, some folks that aren't used to being on their feet all day, or, young kids. I mean, you'll wear them out in a heartbeat by lunchtime. That's
exactly. Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah. Kids were still worn out by lunchtime. Luckily they did well and actually slept in the strollers pretty well.
We don't have strollers. That's our
I know.
So what would you say was your kids as far as like attraction? I mean, you said meeting the characters was definitely a highlight for your kids, but what about like a ride for your kids? Did they give you feedback on maybe a favorite attraction?
Yeah. So, my 2-year-old, she's still at that age where like, it's just like, oh, everything's, she definitely did not like living with the land. She went on with my,
She'll come
yeah.
around. She'll come around.
The thunder and lightning scared
Yeah,
her.
I'll do
Because
that.
while we went on Soarin' in the morning, my mom took her on living with the land, and she did not like that one. But but my daughter, who's again almost 4, she just pretty much loved almost every ride. Her first big girl ride was Soarin'. She loved that. She loved Tiana. She loved Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. But I think her absolute favorite is the carousel, because that's what she kept asking to do the most, the carousel.
Classic.
And it's right now she's at a point where like sounds really bother her. Not like where she needs to like have earmuffs on, but like, she's just very sensitive. But luckily she did really well with almost like pretty much everything. She did well in Haunted Mansion. I thought she was going to be really scared of that, but she did super well there. But overall, she just loved every ride. But when I asked her what she liked the most at Disney World, and it was, meeting Aladdin and Jasmine. So like, we made sure that was a priority to meet them in Adventureland that morning. So again, that's why like the number one priority of the whole trip for my daughter was to meet Aladdin and Jasmine. That's why that morning was based in Adventureland and Frontierland, just because we centered everything around meeting them, because they only meet like 3 show times a day or something like that. It's, not very long, but yeah. So I would say, she loved all the rides for the most part.
So you did Cosmic Rewind though. Did you do that solo, or did you who took that on with you?
Okay, so Cosmic Rewind's interesting. Because I had let's go into this one. So I had no idea what the threshold was of roller coasters for my in-laws. And they were like, "Oh yeah, we're game for everything." And I'm like, "Are you sure?"
Okay.
Like,
this is fun.
yeah, I'm like, "Are you sure?" Cuz I'm like, "This one is like, it's pretty crazy." And they're like, "Yeah, we're fine." I'm like, "Okay." So I just, I booked a single pass for me, my wife. My wife had actually never been on it either, because last time we went to Epcot, she was pregnant and couldn't go on. So it was new for her. So it was the 4 of us. And my in-laws, me and my wife. So, that was the last thing we did in Epcot, and we go on it where I'm getting anxiety because I get motion sickness. And the last time I went on it, I did not have a great experience. And that's not a time to talk about on this show. But I had anxiety, like we had lunch at Beer Garden. So,
oh my God, stop. Oh my God. So I feel you.
but it was like 3 hours before I went on the ride. So I'm like, okay, I think I'll be okay. But I just have anxiety the whole time about it.
You're giving me anxiety just telling the story.
Yeah. So, so we're literally the next, I'm gonna make sure I keep this PG for your show.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
We're literally next online to go hop onto the coaster. 2 trains had to pass us because people had barfed and it was clearly visible in my row, and I'm like, that's awesome. So then finally they got us a clean coaster, but the whole time I'm on it, and you know how it twists and turns. I'm looking wherever the track is so I don't get motion sickness. So like, I'm not enjoying the ride because I'm just trying not to get sick.
You're basically going through astronaut training.
Yeah.
The whole time you're just don't pass out.
Yeah. Yeah. So luckily that strategy worked, where I'm just looking at the track. I couldn't enjoy the ride. So I got off, and my in-laws absolutely loved it. They loved it so much. My father-in-law was like, I could ride that over and over. That was so much fun, man. I had a blast. And he really wanted to go on it right away. I'm like, we'd be waiting 80 minutes. But when I asked him, what his favorite part of the trip was, he's like, honestly, it was great seeing the kids, but I love that Cosmic Rewind ride. So,
awesome.
Yeah, but me, I'm officially retired. I'm never going on it again. So.
You joined the club. Thank you.
I'm done.
I've done it 3 times. I think I've done it 3 times, and I am out. I'm done.
Yeah, I've I've done it 3 times. The first time was super enjoyable for me. I didn't get sick at all. Second time, not enjoyable. This time, I didn't get sick, but I'm like, I'm done. I don't need to do it anymore. So
That's exactly me my last time. I was just holding on for dear life. That was just me.
Yeah.
I was like, just please let me get off this thing without getting sick. Anyway.
I know.
Yeah, I feel you. We're buds. Okay, one thing I want to ask you about too, a couple more things. So the new bar grill over at the Polynesian, which I can't pronounce.
Oh, the Wailulu bar, yeah.
Wailulu. I still can't say it. I'll never be able to pronounce that word. What was your experience there? Because a lot of folks might be curious about that heading down there, especially over here, trips coming up for spring and summer.
Yeah, so it was I loved it, first of all. So that Sunday night, I didn't know what we would, our first Sunday there, it was me and my family, and I was actually doing a monorail crawl that night with some friends. But one of those friends actually met us for dinner at Wailulu Bar. I was like, hey, we're going to go here. If you want to come meet us, come, if you want to eat with a couple of rowdy kids, come with us. And luckily my daughters loved her, she blended in right with the family. But Geyser Point, I think, is like, it's just one of the best restaurants on property because you could sit down, but you don't have to have a reservation. And I'm glad that Disney took note of that and did the same thing with Wailulu Bar and Grill, where you don't need a reservation. You could just show up, put yourself on a wait list. They have really great indoor, not only outdoor, but indoor seating as well. The food was phenomenal. I got the short rib loco moco, which is like short rib rice, like crispy rice with like a sunny side up egg or an over easy egg on top. And both me and my friend, we both got it and absolutely loved it. My whole party loved their food as well. Great service, great drinks. I thought it was great. I said great a lot, but I think one of the biggest downsides is, and I don't know why they did this, but outside there's a lot of tables, but then they have this really cool like infinity water feature looking out to the lake, but they have these booths that are not facing the lake. And like most of the party is just facing the hotel, where I'm just like, why? Like, I feel like aesthetically it's like, or like how they position it, I'd rather be looking at the water than I would at the wall, so we were sat in one of those booths, and I thought that was like one of the worst things about it, where I just like, it didn't make sense to me. I think you have this gorgeous view, and most of your big tables, there must have been like 8 of those tables that you just don't have that view. So that was like my one negative for it. But there's a lot of other tables, there's a lot of bar seats, but otherwise, yeah, great experience. And I loved it. And that was actually, because last year we stayed at Wilderness Lodge, and one of the things we did like with our park days is, we would go to the park with the kids. We would leave like 4:35, get back to the hotel. Then we would go get dinner, either at Roaring Fork, or we would go to Geyser Point and go over there. We did the same thing on this trip as well, but our only option really was Gasparilla Island Grill, which is, to me, not the best quick service location. I think the food is like okay there, but I'm like, man, I wish there was like another option at Grand Floridian where you could just like walk up,
and also, this time of the year to have that outside option too. When
exactly, yeah,
it's the humidity hasn't kicked in, it's still very, very comfortable. Yeah,
exactly, yeah. So that's like something I wish Grand Floridian did have, but yeah, overall, Wailulu Bar, I give it 2 thumbs up. Definitely check it out if you're staying in in that area for sure.
Real quick, tell us about that monorail crawl though. How'd that go?
Yeah, so again, I planned that way in advance. I told my, I have 2 friends that are locals down there. I met through the Disney Instagram community, and I've stayed in touch with them over the years, and hung out with them a few times. So the only time I see them is when I go down there. I was like, all right, we're gonna do monorail crawl 7 p.m. if you want to join. So we all met at Grand Floridian, and we hopped on the monorail. We went to the Contemporary. So we went to Steakhouse 71 Lounge because I not only needed a drink, but I needed that slice of chocolate cake as well.
And I'll be thinking about that all night.
Yeah, it was It was also way bigger than I remember. Like me and my wife ate it, and I actually cut some off for my friends as well. And I was like, this is literally way bigger than I
It's
remember
a
it
lot.
was.
Yeah.
But just as good. Oh, that cake. Anyone listening, you have to go. You don't have to go to Steakhouse 71. Just go to the lounge, get a slice of the chocolate cake. It is to die for.
Oh, yeah, everybody,
Um,
Steve speaks the truth. This
yeah.
cake worth the trip. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's really good. Yeah. Yeah. So, we all sat there. I wish the lounge had a bit more seating. Luckily we did get like area where all of us, cause there were 5 of us all together. And luckily we got some seating there, but I wish they need a bit more. But otherwise, that was our first stop. It did get quite chilly. We had beautiful weather the whole trip, high 70s during the day, but it did get to like low 60s, mid 50s at night. So that night it was a bit cool. Trader Sam's unfortunately had a super long wait. So we're like, all right, let's just go to Tiki Terrace for a drink. Unfortunately, they didn't have the heaters on. So we had a drink there, but it was kind of cold. So we had our drinks pretty quickly, and then we went over to Enchanted Rose, over at Grand Floridian to end it. Enchanted Rose is great. I was there. Actually the first night that we flew in, it was me and my father-in-law. Everyone was tired. Me and my father-in-law went to Enchanted Rose and just like had 3 drinks. We got appetizers. It was like a great way for us to like bond and like really kick off the trip. So that Sunday night we did the same thing. We ended over at Enchanted Rose, got a bunch of drinks there. It was just great catching up with friends. And I try to do that on every trip now. I did that last trip with them as well. We did like a Disney Springs trip. So it's just something I want to continue as a tradition, to make sure I go out and hang out with my friends and do that. So last year we were actually trying to do a boat crawl, but it got rained out. There was some storms coming in, but yeah. So it was a good monorail crawl.
Sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, those are good spots to stop and,
Yeah.
get some drinks and just enjoy each other's company. Now, you mentioned earlier you kind of make these home movies. Were you doing that on this trip as well with the separate video camera and all that?
Yes, yeah. I took way more footage than I have in like other films. I already put it together. It was like an hour and a half or an hour and 20 minutes worth of footage. I really put a lot of focus on that because I had so many other people taking photos. I also do film photography, so I focused on taking actual I'm very nostalgic, if you can't tell.
I love
Um,
I'm all about retro stuff. Like
yeah.
me too, man. I listen to all kinds of retro podcasts and stuff.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah,
it. Totally.
if you're looking at, the video feed, here's the little camcorder that I use, very tiny.
He's awesome. That's a shot from the back.
Yeah.
We have one of
Yeah,
those
it's
back in the day. Yeah,
yeah,
Jamie's
literally, it's great, and my kids just love watching the home movies back. They love having them meet the characters. I film a couple rides, but, I try to take, like, things in the moment.
So
So
let me ask you this philosophically though, why this is just totally me. That is not, I'm just curious, like why
yeah.
shoot it that way over than like, because, then off of an iPhone or something like that. I mean, philosophically, does it just feel, is it because you have that nostalgia connection? You just like the old feel kind of thing?
Yeah, it's the nostalgic connection, and I think because like what I do with the camera is I literally every year I just keep it on a large memory card where I'm rolling all year long, and then at the end of the year, besides the Disney trip, I keep the Disney trip separate. I just dump it all out, and then I export it into a video file. And to me it's just like it just to me feels more like a home movie that way, where I'm actually filming and not with my phone. And it's also just easier for me to get those videos back, where like on my phone, I have to dig out like, which
Yeah,
ones
it's
do I want to
every day,
do?
all day life, and it's just the phone,
Yeah,
everything, and that's
exactly.
kind of the fun device. That's the memories. Yeah, I get it. That's a great.
Yeah,
It's just no, I don't think anybody ever thinks about that anymore. You always as great as your iPhone is, it's your everything device.
yeah,
That's a blessing, but it can also be a curse because it's just full of distractions constantly. Where that is just your fun device to capture all the memories about like back in the day. That's
yeah,
super interesting, like philosophically to think about, pulling it like out, the memory capturing device. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
no, I absolutely love it. I've been doing it. This is my 5th year now making home movies with my kids. And, my kids just love watching the videos back, and it's just great having those memories. Like but like Mike, every year, all the footage collectively is like 4 hours long. I try not to take that much, but like, I don't even remember taking that much footage, but it's always like, 4 hours. I'm like, well, how does it get that long? But it does, it all adds up over the year, and it's great.
So do your in-laws live near you? Like, you have like a premiere at your house, like in the man cave behind you, or do you like just share it out over, like, do you just send a link to it, or like how do you share the big premiere of this video?
Yeah, so we already watched the cut. My in-laws, they do live near us, but they're actually still in Florida because my wife's stepmom has family down there. But yeah, next time they're home, they'll come over. We'll show it to them.
Like, we need to have like popcorn, and I'm eating to do the whole thing.
Oh,
This is cool.
absolutely, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love it. That's
We'll
great.
have a premiere. Yeah,
I mean, again, I'm very nostalgic, and I think that it's so easy because there's that I'm the opposite, right? I'm always sharing things in the moment. I'm just taking a picture and it's up on social media within 2 minutes.
yeah.
And I love that because I think people get a kick out of seeing, what you're doing right now. It's what's happening in the parks right now. But then, I miss what you're doing, right? The cumulative experience later on, because
Yeah.
I can't do that because who cares? Like, I've already shared every picture I took and every little
Mhm.
short video clip. Everybody's seen it already.
Yeah.
I think that there's more, and also you get more chance to be creative, in how you present that, with music in the background and clips and filters and stuff like that. I really envy that you take the time to do that, and it'll be a treasure.
I don't even do that. I literally make it still like a home movie where it's just like all unedited and just put it on there. The one fun thing I do is I did buy a program where it puts the timestamp in, so it has the date and the time on it. So it just uses the data from the clip and it burns it in. So it's like, like your classic home movies. So
It's super cool though, because I mean, again, it's important. I'm just telling you, my kids are 28 and 17, and it's like, I would give anything to have more video and more of those memories, back like that. It went too fast. So
yeah.
we got to wrap, getting a little bit long, but any other highlights from the trip you want to share? Because man, you guys had an awesome trip, but anything we left out here that you want to talk about?
Oh man, I think as far as this trip goes, I feel like there wasn't any real like big notable memories. I think we just had like all of my planning, like, not to toot my own horn, but like all of my planning like went off without a problem. All of my strategic trip, park planning. My in-laws were like super grateful. They kept saying to me like, they're big planners, but they totally left this into my hands. And they were very appreciative of like, hey, thanks for doing all this for us. And they see how crazy it can be to plan like a trip. And I think what I also appreciated from them was that they really listened to me and the direction I was I was giving them, and they like went along with everything that I was doing. Like they never said no to I think almost anything, because I was really trying again. I wanted to have them go at a slower pace, same with my kids. They were pretty much with us for almost, everything. I think, that was, they really, they just really appreciated that. I'm trying to look at like, here what I, kind of left out was, yeah, I kind of hit everything. I mean, I think one of the biggest things I love was like Ohana. I had literally never been to Ohana before. So like the breakfast was, awesome. Meeting the characters were fun. I think meeting like Pluto was like probably the best character experience. He was like super into it. Watching him try to like autograph on top of his nose was fun. I also I threw him a bone and I didn't think he'd actually go get it, but Pluto went and got his bone. And it was like,
Never heard of that. That's awesome.
it was super cute. My kids loved it. But I think, for this trip, it's just seeing my kids, just really enjoy their time. They just love to dance. So anytime they were able to dance, they could. Whether it was a parade or the Encanto show. Like Beer Garden, we ate at Beer Garden. I've not been there since I was a kid. But the show, my kids went up there and like were dancing, and it was really cute. This like maybe 10-year-old girl just started dancing with my daughter. So like, oh, hey, you want to dance with me? And Cora was like, yeah, sure. Then I started talking to her grandfather, and we were like, this is what it's all about. Just like these memories,
Yep.
Right here. So, and then I think my favorite, besides seeing my kid have fun, was like every park night, I went out with my mom. My mom's older. She's literally was in the parks all day long. Cause she's well, I don't want to give her age out, but she's in her, 60s. She probably wouldn't want me to say that, but she's very active. And so she's like, I want to stay out. And I'm like, my wife, she's not a big, park enthusiast at nights. She gets tired. She would rather stay in. So I got to just spend a lot more time with my mom. She lives in Colorado. I don't get to see her as much anymore, except for the few times a year she's out here. So just having that time at Hollywood Studios, we saw Fantasmic together. We saw Luminous together. And then it was the evening extra magic hour. So we stayed out till like 11 o'clock at Epcot. Rode Soarin'. I fell asleep on Spaceship Earth because I was so tired,
Love it.
And then, Magic Kingdom, my local friends also came out on the Magic Kingdom night, and, we did, even, more attractions. And, my favorite ride is Space Mountain. So that was the last attraction I did of the trip. And, so it's nice to have, those memories. So.
I'll tell you what, Matt, here's kind of as we wrap, is that I hear happiness in your voice. I really do. I hear happiness in your immediate family, but also that you got to have happiness in kind of a job well done, because you put all the planning into it, but it seems like you saw joy in your in-laws. You got to spend time with your mom that you don't get to see very much. And I love hearing a trip report like this, because I know our listeners are going to enjoy this, because this is why we go to Walt Disney World, the Disney destinations. It's not only just ride the ride, see the shows, meet our character friends and all that stuff, but it's when you get to do this with people you love, that's just the cherry on top of the ice cream sundae. And you just hear it throughout the show. So Matt, we've been friends for quite a while, and I just appreciate you taking the time again to come on the show. And I mean, you just made this Monday and St. Patrick's Day awesome. We found the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Absolutely. Yeah. These trips have been, my last thing I'll say is these trips have been great. And now that we go more, we go every year. I've been to Disney a lot of times, and I take it because we take it slower as a family. I come home having those Disney blues where it's like, I'm so happy I'm ready to do the next trip. Where in the past, when I was with adults or friends and we're like, go, 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 you're so tired by the end of the trip. I used to get Disneyed out where I'm like, I don't want anything to do with Disney. But now that I'm taking it at a slower pace, I feel like I'm enjoying these trips even more. I'm already like, okay, we're going to go next March, but I'm like, maybe we'll go the first week of December for Christmas. Who knows? So
you got to always keep it, the possibility open, optimistic, like you can't say, no, we might go sooner rather than later. Even if it ain't going to happen, keep the possibility open. At least
absolutely.
Especially if you live in a cold climate, you got to say, let's maybe we can escape down there for a weekend or something, maybe 3 or 4 days. That's how I always thought about it. There's always a chance to get out of the cold weather in St. Louis at some point, New Jersey. I'm sure it's exactly the same. So, hey, appreciate you. Got anything going on online? Any place people can catch you? Do you want to give out any of that stuff? I don't know how you're going with that right now. What's up?
No, I'm kind of off social media. The one, I'll tease that, I don't know if anyone remembers Park Snacker, but it's making a comeback. So
I didn't know. Okay. I knew it was like a hiatus, so I didn't know.
We had a little bit of we had to shut it down, but it's, I won't go into reasons why, but we're in the process of bringing it back. So, I don't know if I should have made that announcement, but
you're like me. I mean, my mouth goes before my brain. So
exactly. Yeah. But I'm the one creating it. So, it's fine. So
that's good stuff. Well, hey, Matt, I appreciate you, and best wishes to the family, and we'll catch you over in the clubhouse.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll be on there. So thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
You take care. All right. Don't forget our show is brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan your next Disney adventure, whether it's Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, even Adventures by Disney. Check out all the details today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. That one extra click supports everything we do throughout the year. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you so very much to our Patreon supporters. You guys are the all-stars that keep all this going. It's just $5 a month, and it's a cup of coffee a month. And for that support, you get a bonus show every week called Mike in the Midwest. Come over this week. We'd sure love to have you. And again, thanks to our folks who already support us. Just come over to patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. You can give me a follow on the social media. I'm at beourguestmike on Instagram, Twitter, and Threads. And we would love a review on Apple Podcasts this week. If you have a few minutes, it'd be great because, we've been doing this for 17 years. And some of those reviews and ratings expire after a little bit. And we've been on here a little bit. So please, if you don't mind, give us a few, star ratings and reviews again over on Apple Podcasts. We'd sure appreciate that. And come hang with us in the clubhouse, beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. Promise you'll have a great time. It's absolutely free for everybody. And we talk sports, really one of the greatest sports channels ever. If you're into sports, and we have Disney channels for everything, cruise line, theme parks, resorts. We have a trivia game that goes every day. Thanks to Trisha for that. It's amazing. Come on over. Just check it out. beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse and join us this Sunday night for the live call-in show. That'll be at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central, 5 places: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. Give me a call. Let's talk Disney. All right. So time to get back to the, corned beef and cabbage and all that stuff that if we cooked it in this house, my wife would kill me. She'd say she's not into that stuff. I like it. She doesn't. But might just have Taco Bell because that's what we do around these parts. That's how we celebrate. But hope you're having a great one. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. So for Matt out in New Jersey, I'm Mike here in Missouri. You guys have a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and happy St. Patrick's Day. All right. That was awesome. Good stuff.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
That's good. All right. Well, I'm going to edit this bad boy up and head upstairs and see the fam for a little bit. I've been in
Sounds good.
Basement all day.
Are you going to watch Survivor? I know you were a big fan of that.
I have not watched Survivor in about 6 years.
What? Oh,
I've not watched it since COVID.
Damn.
When they made those changes to a shorter season, I was out. Like,
it's tough. It took me a little bit to like it, but I do like it now. Some of the seasons have been really good. Some of them, it's okay, but some of these people were pretty vicious at times. So
and too, like it got to the point where there was too many advantages. I thought the advantages were taken. I'm super old school, right? I like a few advantages, for the length of the 39 days.
Yeah.
But it seemed like there were just advantages. Like with Russell way back. I mean, this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
Russell, that was almost too many advantages. And it seemed like after that, it was like 2 advantages a show. And I was just this isn't the Survivor I like anymore.
Yeah. They've definitely reduced it and made it harder to get advantages. They put some cool twists on it. So I think it's worth it, trying to get back in. So
yeah, I was in so deep though, because I was just when I do stuff, I do everything 1,000%. So I'd watch the show and then I listen to every Rob Cesternino podcast about it. I don't know if you listen.
Yeah, no, Rob has a podcast. Yeah,
exactly. Listen to him and Stephen Fishback, and then the other 5 podcasts that went along with it. So I mean, due to be the whole week. I mean,
they have an official Survivor podcast with Jeff Probst now.
Yeah. Because I know, I still follow all that stuff on social media, Rob and all his, News AF and all that stuff. But
yeah,
I was consumed, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm so exhausted.
I hear you.
Well, hey, I appreciate it. I'm gonna run upstairs and see the
good
girls before they duck out because Mallory's going to the gym.
All righty.
All right, I'll see you.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Have a good one.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
2, 6, 5, 8. Edited. I know we're still live. Hang tight. I hit the wrong button. Do. Saving, 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 saving. Saving, 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 saving. Saving, saving. Saving, 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 saving. Happy Monday, everybody. Thank you so much for downloading or streaming the Be Our Guest podcast. And happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there. We've got a great trip report for you today. Listener Matt out in New Jersey, goes by Zeebs over in the clubhouse, joins us today to talk about his trip just less than 2 weeks ago, where he traveled with extended family to Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa. So we talk about an amazing stay there with his family. And how about a wine dinner over at Citrico's? They also dined at 1900 Park Fair. We talk about beer garden and then a subsequent spin on Cosmic Rewind. You got to hear that story. It's pretty epic. We talk about fun times at the theme parks and much more. So strap in. We're going into all over Walt Disney World on today's show. Don't forget, today's podcast always brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan your next Disney adventure for no additional cost to you. Check out all the details today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. That one extra click supports everything we do throughout the year. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you so very much to our Patreon supporters. You guys, the all-stars that keep this show on the air. You can support us for just $5 a month. It's just like a cup of coffee. And for that support, you get a bonus show every week called Mike in the Midwest. Come over this week. We'd love to have you. Patreon.com/beourguestpodcast.